if someone gives you a name, I think it's like a sign of love.
In Arabic, you can call someone that you don't know my eyes and my heart. Oh, do you know what bay stands for?
So you're my before.
And ever after.
Oh, that's even cuter.
You're listening to the British Council English podcast, brought to you by the world's English experts.
Perfect.
Welcome, everyone, to our English for Life podcast. Today's episode is going to be we're going to talk about terms of endearment. I have Jo with me here today and Gabriel. Hello. All right. So in today's episode, it's going to be a little bit personal because we're going to talk about all the lovey-dovey, mushy, cute little sentimental and romantic language.
Okay.
So that's gonna be fun. Okay, so we're going to start with question number 1. What's your go-to term of endearment for someone that you love, and why do you like to use it?
I don't really have one, to be honest. Obviously, I have a special term for my partner, but we don't disclose that to anyone. We just keep it between ourselves. Yes. It's not rude or anything, but it's personal. But with some of my friends, I say lovely. Mm-hmm. And I just started to say it in the past few years. And I copied another friend and I thought, oh, that's nice. So yeah, I text my friends and I say, hey, lovely. And that if you get a hey, lovely text from me, you know you're special.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's really nice. Yes. What about you, Gabriel?
There's a variety of ones. Again, it's personal, often if it's like romantic, but if it's between friends, because is a popular one.
Yeah.
Fam, bro.
Yeah.
If it's for women, it would probably be something that's comes out of the friendship. So like it could be something related to something that they said one day that I thought was funny. And then out of that came a nickname. It could be they remind me of someone. It could be a character from a film or something. And they're like, well, now that's your nickname. you know.
That's your whole identity now.
This is it. This is it. Yeah. And they kind of agree. That's okay. That's okay. Most of the time.
Okay. All right. Okay. And what about using terms of endearment in the workplace? Do you feel like you can call a coworker, lovely or sweetie or honey or something like that? Do you think that's appropriate? What do you think?
I wouldn't when using English. I don't think it's appropriate. Any of the words that you just said, and I can't think of any word that would come to mind that would be appropriate in the workplace.
Dear? Thank you, dear.
That's not very me because I'm Irish. I don't know. Or if it's one of those things that it used to be said more and now it's not said, but I would never say dear.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there are real issues with a guy using that for a woman because it could be seen as patronizing. It could be seen as creating a kind of a power dynamic there. And so I think to be avoided. And I think politicians have got in trouble for calling co-workers sweetie or dear or something like this. So, I think people are aware that it's a no-go area, really, in a sense.
But what if your BFF is your coworker? Then what do? You know what I mean? Like, what if you get really close with one of your teammates or another teacher, perhaps? So would you still keep that professional line there? Or are you okay with saying sis? What about sis?
If it's in public, like if you're in a big meeting, you want to avoid it because it's kind of setting a standard, or you need to be professional. If it's just you're working together on a project and it's just you, it's fine.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It depends on the context because you're not going to be as intimate with someone in a big group of people that you don't know as you are when you're alone together.
Okay. So it kind of depends on the context and the situation All right. Okay. So is there a term of endearment from another language that you love to use? And what is it?
Yeah. I would never use these words in English, but for some reason, like in Spanish, I would say mi amor.
Ooh, okay.
Like when I text my friend, I say that a lot. Yeah. Or when we're speaking to each other too. But but I would never say love in English.
Yeah,
but it sounds like, I don't know, really East End London to me. I don't know if that is, generally true or
could be,
And also in Italian, I would say cara or caro to everyone on the street walking by is my dear. But again, in English, I would never say dear.
Okay, really interesting. And what do you think, Gabriel?
Habibi, that's a common one. That's a common one. Yeah, and I think it's gone global now as well, which is awesome. Yeah. It has many, many uses. It's pretty versatile, but it can be used between friends. It can be used between lovers. It's a word for all seasons.
Absolutely.
But with Habibi, with the proliferation of that on social media, do you think that it's used incorrectly sometimes?
No, it's always used correctly. Just say Habibi whenever.
Okay, so every use, because I was wondering, because as you said, it's in so many different contexts, and it's nice to be able to ask somebody. Thank you.
I mean, you can. It's nice to hear for us, Arabs. It's we always say very, lovely or darling or honey. And I was just saying this in Arabic. You can call someone that you don't know my eyes and my heart, and that is totally normal, and that's totally fine. Like we say ayuni or galbi, and that's totally normal, and it's not seen as that's too fast. No, we just say that, and that's okay. All right. Okay. So do you, and I just wanted to add as well. So you were, talking about terms of endearment. They're Italian. I love like mi amor. No, that's not. No, amore. Amore is what I wanted to say. Amore.
Right. It's so similar to the Spanish. It's okay. They're very similar.
Side eye. Me. Okay. So, but yeah, amore. I feel like it's very...
Yeah.
It's very like romantic and fancy. And
that's a nice way to refer to someone as well. Yeah.
It seems like
wrapping up.
The ones that we use in English tend to be a bit more reserved, I'm feeling.
Sure.
Or at least they feel that way.
Whereas in Spanish it's like, and in Italian it's like my love, and in Arabic my heart, my eyes.
My eyes.
Yeah.
In English it's bro.
Yeah, or dark or something like that, which is just somewhat less.
Yeah.
Like effusive.
And even like, I'm just thinking about how like, even when we're passive aggressive, we're going to call someone like sweetie in Arabic. Like, don't say that to me, sweetie. Don't say that to me, honey. And it's still like, it's passive aggressive. You don't really mean it, but you're still saying really nice things. Anyways. Okay. So thinking about how language changes over time, what's a term of endearment you've heard from older generations that you don't hear much today? What do you think, Jo?
Oh, well, my dad would always say chicken.
Chicken?
Yeah. That's a term of endearment he used for all of us and for his grandkids too. But I don't really hear anybody else saying that. And I think it's because it's from the older generation.
Bully is an old one. It's an old English one that's just not really in use anymore. But it's just a bog standard term of endearment. Just someone you really like. You can also say bully for you, which is sort of to say, well, great for you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And we were also talking about this before. Pet.
I still hear that, but it is, it depends who you're using it to, but it creates a power imbalance there. As you're right, pet, sometimes it can feel a little bit like you're talking down to the person.
Do you think that pet is more used in the north of England or in the south of England? Or is that just the impression
in the north of England, this is where I can kind of hear it more.
Yeah. So I think in that case, it wouldn't be talking down to somebody, would it? It would just be like maybe a slightly older person using it to mean...
Depends who's using
pet, it. Like, lovely.
But again, with the previous example, for a guy to use that, talking to a woman, it does feel like it's talking down to them. If they're not already very close and there's not an understanding between them.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's a nice point to make.
And coming from someone who's not from there, if I don't know the context or the use, or like if it's okay to call someone pet, I would get triggered. Like, what do you mean pet? This is like, I would not be okay with that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I need to understand the context and when to use the word, if people use that word like pet as a term of endearment. All right. Okay. So do you use any terms of endearment that are totally unique to you and your friendship group? So have you ever made up or created a cute nickname?
I mentioned this earlier. So some nicknames are kind of derived from something that's happened in the friendship. And one of the nicknames I was given was Ishi Nisan. And I mean, to you, that means nothing. But if I break it apart, my name is Gabriel Ishmael. Like, so, okay, you've got the Ishi part. We all loved like anime and comic books and stuff. So it's Japanese. So you've got Ishi Nisan. And also like Ishi, like, San is like Nisan is a kind of like term of address for people. So you've got Ishi Nisan, and that became my nickname. And it makes sense to us, but of course to anyone else, it seems a bit bizarre. Who is this Ishi Nisan of whom you speak? But yeah, that's kind of it. And I love it because it comes out of our sort of shared love of like Japanese animation. And so it's kind of like being part of a tribe.
Yeah.
When you're given that nickname, it's until you get the nickname, you're not like necessarily part of the gang, as it were. Yeah, so.
That's nice. So once you get your nickname, then you know, like, you've been accepted.
You belong, yeah. It's almost like a new identity, because obviously the significance of naming is really important. And if someone gives you a name, I think it's like a sign of love, kind of thing. Yeah. So as long as it's a nice nickname.
Right. Yeah, somebody can give you a name that is not so pleasant.
Yeah.
That you may not like to have.
And you're stuck with it. Yes, thanks for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about you, Jo?
No, I don't really have any. But we do have a little joke with a friend of mine, that Paula. We're both not very logical, but we totally understand each other. So when we talk and nobody else understands us, but we get each other, we call it Jogic, like Joe Logic, or Podgic, Paula Logic. So that's sort of a word that we made up affectionately to refer to how we communicate.
Your bond. Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay. One more question. So how do you feel about using diminutives as terms of endearment, like Johnny instead of John? Do they add a special touch, or do you feel that they're too childish?
Quite common. I mean, when sort of Gabriel to Gabe. Yeah, pretty common. I mean, I wouldn't even necessarily call it a term of endearment, although people often ask. It can be. It's not exclusively, I should say. People ask, is it okay for me to call you Gabe or Gab or Gabby? Maybe not Gabby, but Gab is cool. Gabe is fine. They wouldn't necessarily be close. They could just be lazy. But yeah, I think it's nice, and I take no objection. If you want to call me Gabe, it's fine. I'm not going to complain. Yeah.
Thank you. So, thanks, Gabe. But my name is the shortened version of my name, and I usually introduce myself as that, Jo. My full name is Joanne.
Okay.
And no one really calls me Joanne, so everyone calls me Jo.
Jo.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, I think it's really nice to shorten names, or if somebody has a name that can be shortened in different ways, and then you are the only person who shortens it to that particular way. You're the only person who's allowed to call them that particular variation of their name, then that can be really special.
And so just one more, it's not one more question, I have a couple of questions, but why do you think we associate food with terms of endearment? So why do we say like honey, pumpkin, sugar, cinnamon apparently as well? I saw that online. I'm not sure if people use that. But like what's the thing with food? Is it because it's delicious? It's so... Yeah. I just sprung this on them. I did not prepare them for this. I'm sorry, you guys.
Well, we have go on.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I mean, we have a special relationship with food. I think it's part of our culture. A lot of people, their parents cooked for them. So it's like there's that, and, for people you love, you prepare meals. So I think food is really, really a central part of the relationships that we have with people. So it kind of makes sense that we would take a lot of terms of endearment from food culture and from, food is delicious, it's nourishing, it's something that brings people together. So, to me, it kind of seems quite natural.
Yeah, that's a really good take. Yes, Jo.
Well, I was going to use the same word you both used, delicious. But I have another adjective for it too, sweet. All of the things you mentioned are sweet. Pumpkin, sugar, honey, and cinnamon, they add sweetness to things. So I think that's that idea of like sweetness, closeness. We like that. And
okay, but then again, what about animals? Dove, duck, and chicken?
Well, they're all kind of cute. I don't know, chickens aren't no, they're not particularly cute, but
not necessarily.
Ducks
what
are.
else?
Yeah,
dove.
Doves, symbol of peace and
cuteness.
The dove one I get. The other two, not really.
Not really.
I'm not a big fan of those. Yeah, for terms of endearment.
What do you think about Gen Z terms of endearment? Like, I don't know if it's Gen Z, but like shoddy. Shoddy or so we said fam, cuz, and I quite like that. What about, do you know what BAE stands for?
BAE?
Yeah, BAE.
No idea.
Do not say anything.
I won't say anything. Okay, it's a quiz for you now, Gabe.
You need to, each letter stands for something. BAE. And again, if you're listening to this podcast or if you're watching on YouTube, you can write in the comments, what does BAE stand for?
Oh, I don't know.
Putting you on the spot. Okay.
Best me eternally. I don't know.
Okay, we'll give him the first.
You got the spelling correct, so that's a start.
The spelling? So?
BAE.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's
so
right.
We'll give him the first one. Before. So the B stands for before.
Give me the A.
But if you say you're my bae, so you're my before.
And ever after.
And, that's even cuter.
Is it right? Oh, cool. No.
So it's before
anybody else.
Oh, before anyone else. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So it's BAE. And of course, Justin Bieber brought back Baby. I don't know if he brought it back, but I don't know. Do you know the song?
Probably.
Okay.
That's the answer. Yeah.
Would you like to sing it, Zina?
Of course. No, I don't think our listeners will want me to sing, but it's like, baby, baby, baby. And that's
that
literally
was the
whole
first
song.
one that he ever released.
It's an old one.
Yeah,
okay.
that was a major hit.
Yeah.
A major hit.
During the fresh-faced years. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is like,
exactly. Yeah. Okay. And then I don't know. I don't know if I'm young enough to use shot. No, I don't know if shoddy. Do we use
It's been around
shoddy?
for ages, hasn't
it?
Like in rap, so you hear it in hip hop all the time.
Yeah.
That's like from like the 2000s. It's been around for a long time, but I think it is having a revival at the moment.
Maybe.
I see.
Okay. So we're going to wrap it up with a mini quiz. Okay.
I'm nervous.
No, don't be. It's really easy. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question, and then you have 3 options that you can choose from. Okay.
A few multiple choice.
Yes.
Great.
You got it. Okay. Great. Which of the following is not commonly used as a term of endearment for a romantic partner? Sweetheart, darling, or boss?
It's not used as a term of endearment.
Not, yeah.
Okay.
Sweetheart, darling, or boss?
I wonder. Is this a trick question? Is it like all of?
I mean, no. I mean, I guess this is very subjective, because then if you want to call your partner boss, you can call your partner boss.
But in general, boss is not used for a romantic partner.
Yeah, not really an ideal term of endearment for a relationship.
Yeah.
Of any kind.
Unless it's
a boss. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Now we're going to look at terms of endearment in French.
Which is appropriate, because that's kind of where we are now. Not really kind of, it's where we are now.
Represent.
In the heart of France.
Okay, which of these is not a term of endearment in French? So, mon chéri, mon amour, or mein Schatz?
That sounds German.
It's German.
Okay.
Yeah. Which one? Well, you have to say it.
Mein Schatz?
I think it's mein Schatz.
What does it mean?
Is it my cat?
It's like I think it's my heart. My sweetie. If you're German, or if you're, you know German, just like let us know in the comments.
Okay,
somewhere.
apologize for butchering the pronunciation.
Yeah, okay,
as well.
Same.
Sorry.
I really like in French, mon chou.
Yeah.
Do people say that still?
Yeah. Wait, Nishmaya? Yes.
Okay, cool. Do you still use cochon de lait? I remember reading that. Like, is that a thing? No one says that?
No, I don't think so.
Where did I read that in like a Kate Chopin short story years ago. But it's not used, no. And that kind of explains it. I think that's maybe like over a long way. Milk pig. It's very, very old. No, okay, yeah.
Okay.
It's the only one. It's the only other one I know.
This is the danger of learning things from stories without asking a native speaker to put it into context for you.
Just never do that. Never just read an old book and then think I'm going to use that in like 100 years later. It's not advisable.
Thank you for that, Gabe.
Yeah, you probably weren't going to do that anyway. So.
Okay, so that's it for today's podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And thank you, listeners, for listening. Okay, so if you like this podcast, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment if you can, if you're on YouTube. And we post new content every week, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. We really care about your English, so if you like this episode, make sure you subscribe because we've got lots more great content for you to explore.